If you're someone who's really ambitious and feels like you've been fighting your own brain just to get to the next level, I need you to hear me on this. I know you've probably been praying about this business plateau or the career stagnation for months. Maybe you fasted over this, you've asked for wisdom, you have mentors or coaches that you've spoken to, but the same pattern just keeps showing up. What if that pattern isn't a lack of faith? What if you've been applying high level business strategy to low profile default subconscious settings? Today, I'm going to show you the 7 signs that your subconscious mind is sabotaging your business and why prayer alone is not enough to clear these deep seated blocks. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Tiffany Taylor, and I run this channel all based on how to renew your mind and to rewire your subconscious mind. So don't forget to hit subscribe and click the bell to make sure that you're notified every time I release a new video. As a coach, I tend to work with a lot of entrepreneurs and believers who feel that they've tried everything. They've done a lot of personal development work, they've done therapy, courses, mentors, maybe even hypnosis. And they come to me because they have this talent, they have a calling that they know is a God calling, but they feel like they're getting stuck at this invisible ceiling and it's driving them insane because they tend to feel that they're not as far ahead right now as they should be. They feel like they're behind based on their own standard and like they could be doing so much more or be so much further ahead. So I want you to think about your mind as a computer, and a computer has hardware, which is the brain for us, and it has software, which is our mind for us. And you can think of me as a computer programmer where I go in and rewire that programming. That way it's aligned with what God's truth is about you. Now, if your mind is a software, just like any other software, it could have bugs, it can have malware, it can get viruses. And what that plays out into is limiting beliefs. Or if you're Christian, then the word would be having lies from the enemy in your mind. Right? We have these subconscious blocks and fears and doubts that show up that stop us from even reaching out to step into our fullest potential. See, this is why I have my channel based on renewing the mind, because Romans 12:2 tells us to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And that's a technical derivative. It's not just some cute idea. It's actually showcasing that our mind is designed for transformation. That means you are not stuck the way that you are. You don't need to just learn to cope with the way you are. You need to step into transformation, which by nature is spiritual. By nature, transformation is supernatural. And if you haven't had change and you're still stuck with the old patterns, maybe that's because you've been trying to solve that and resolve that at the wrong level of thinking. Maybe it's because you've been trying to solve a spiritual problem with a mindset solution or a mindset tool. So we're going to go into all of that on this video. That said, before we even get into tools, let's talk about the 7 signs that your subconscious is running the show. Now, in a lot of my videos, you're going to notice that I will use 2 different types of vocabulary. I'm going to use vocabulary from scripture for believers who are deeper in their walk and they want to see where this is in scripture. I'm also going to pair this with words that are commonly used in psychology. Someone who's read personal development books or self-help books, they're going to resonate with these words. And I want you to understand that both words are pointing to the same definition and concept. I really just love drawing parallels, showing that you can love science and psychology and see that God designed it and God taught us all of these things first in scripture. We just in 2026 or whatever year it is that you're watching this, likely just didn't know the vocabulary. So one of the first signs here is distraction, and distraction tends to lead to procrastination as well. Now, it's really important to distinguish this. Like, this is not laziness. Okay, you can be highly productive and have a performance mentality and still have these patterns that show up for you. It feels like sabotage against your goals, but it's actually the subconscious mind trying to protect itself from something that feels unsafe. Maybe putting yourself out there on Instagram or on social media and building a brand feels unsafe because at that point you're exposed to potential rejection or judgment. Right? Maybe making money feels unsafe. Whatever that belief is for you, there's a fear behind it, and that fear will inevitably sabotage your success if it's not handled. And to take it a step deeper, like if the enemy can't get you to sin and you're walking, in a righteous way with God and you have a close relationship with Him, the enemy will use distraction to delay your progress and delay you from the potential and the promises and rewards that are waiting for you on the other side of the thing that you're avoiding. So understand that there is a spiritual component to distraction as well. The second sign I want you to be aware of is perfectionism. This is commonly called the inner critic. And it's the voices or the thoughts you have in your mind that tell you something isn't perfect or something needs to be improved before you can put it out there. And you can look at it as your mind protecting you from judgment or perceived criticism, which is a perceived threat to the nervous system. Or you can look at it as an accuser, someone accusing you that you're not good enough, smart enough, rich enough, far along enough, whatever it is enough. You are not blank enough to do the thing, or that project is not blank enough to publish it or put it out there, right? Even if it's an Instagram post, it's not good enough to put it out there. That line of thinking is also showing up in scripture because it is your accuser. There's a spiritual root to this as well, right? There is a difference between being a perfectionist and having a standard of excellence because nothing's ever 100% perfect. And we know that, right? And a lot of times perfectionism just delays us. So this is just how the enemy works, right? If you say that you have perfectionist tendencies, that's a habit. Habits can be broken. But as soon as you do it enough and you practice this pattern enough, it becomes so ingrained in you that you identify this. This becomes identity level. I am a perfectionist. And now we're in danger because once you have an identity locked in, and so the reason that becomes dangerous is because one of the prime directives of the subconscious is to behave in alignment with the subconscious identity. So if you identify as a perfectionist, subconsciously, you are going to be creating evidence to support that as fact. So identity really matters here. And of course, that's what the enemy goes to attack first is your identity. The third one to look out for here is consistency. So your old programs are running in cycles. You might hit a certain level of success, and then the brain decides that that's a threat to you, and it'll force sabotage, some form of sabotage, in order to bring you back into your safe zone. So, for example, if you're someone who sets a goal at the beginning of the year, maybe it's a New Year's resolution, and you have the best intentions and you feel that you're committed, but a few weeks later, you're no longer actively working towards that goal and you've been inconsistent. That's a perfect example of one of the signs to look out for, that there's something going on behind the scenes subconsciously that's getting in the way between you and the person that you want to become. Another really big sign to look out for here is imposter syndrome or imposter thoughts. And if you haven't heard that before, that's a term from psychology, and it's a word to describe this phenomenon that happens where you feel that you are not good enough. So, if you've ever identified with any of these thoughts, then this is speaking to you. Have you ever felt like you're not good enough or you're not smart enough or why would anyone listen to me or why would the enemy attack me? Anything that's shrinking you or not holding you up to the standard and the value that you actually bring, that's usually in alignment with what psychology would call imposter syndrome. And for example, it comes up in business too. Like, who am I to charge these prices? Who am I to have a microphone? Who would listen to me on stage? Why would anyone follow me on social media? Like, this can play out in a lot of different areas of life. So, whenever we have that internal record player that just keeps playing, like, who am I to do this? That's another sign that there's something happening subconsciously here that's getting in between you and the growth that you want to have. Which brings me to the fifth sign here, and that is mental exhaustion. This is the effect where you have too many tabs open. And if you have ADHD, like I feel this for you because I do too, right? Your brain is just burning through energy, trying to override its own subconscious wiring, trying to force, like brute force or willpower, its way to getting what it wants, creating exhaustion. It should not be exhausting once you're in alignment with God. When you are creating the things that He has created for you, when you're walking the path that He has set out for you, it should not be mentally exhausting in the same way it would be if you're trying to do everything in your own strength. I'm all for being tired at the end of the day because you worked hard. Like, work ethic is incredible. And if you feel exhausted at thinking about working and thinking about thinking, Right, the metacognition, if that is what's exhausting, there's probably something else behind that. The sixth sign to look out for here is comparison. This is the ego trying to find its place in the world because it doesn't feel secure in its own identity. And even before I was a believer, I would teach about identity work because it's so crucial, and everything you do and everything you believe flows from the identity and the own self image that you have currently. When you don't feel secure in your identity, and it's tied to something superficial, for example, your position at home, your position at work, the role that you carry, how much money you make, the material things that you own, the brand that you have externally, possessions. When you are attached to any of those things at an identity level, if you lose any one of them, you're going to have an identity crisis. So it's really important, especially as a leader, to have an anti fragile identity. That's only going to come when you are rooted in something that is bigger than yourself. Has to be your relationship with God. The seventh sign to look out for is financial plateaus or even decline for sure. There's subconscious beliefs, especially around worthiness or shame, for example, or just feeling unsafe around that will cause that. You won't be consciously aware of that most of the time, but it could be happening under the hood of the car, right? Finances are a currency. You're only going to earn what you believe that you are worth. So if you believe that you are not worthy, you will not be able to receive that, to create that, to charge the amount that you want to charge. And the worker is worth his wages. It's not about being money hungry, right? Or being obsessive about money. It really is about being a good steward and allocating resources in a way that honors and glorifies God. And if you're struggling in that area, that is definitely shining a light on something to look at because something can be happening subconsciously. So those are the 7 signs that I have for you today to take a look at. And let me know in the comments, which one of these are you currently experiencing or have you experienced in the past? And if you're already on the other side, leave a testimony for the next person who watches this video. If you're sitting here saying like, I know what's going on and you're looking for the solution, the truth is you can't rewrite your own code, right? A programmer does that. You can't solve a problem from the same level of thinking that created the problem. And everyone has blind spots. This is why it's so helpful to have someone hold up a mirror for you to point out your blind spots and to help you see exactly what could be getting in the way and get really precise at the root cause level. That way you do create transformation, because right now we live in a world where everyone wants information, right? You clicked on this video, you're wanting information. You use AI, you read books, you're going after information. And information alone is the wrong goal to have because it feels good for a moment, right? You get the dopamine hit of gaining wisdom and knowledge. But information alone isn't what creates transformation. You have to first make a decision that you're not willing to tolerate what you have been in the past. You have to make the decision that where I am now is not the end goal. And the end goal is worthy of me making sacrifices. The end goal is worthy of me investing in myself. The end goal is worthy of me letting go of these habits, beliefs, thoughts that are no longer aligning with the purpose and calling on my life. Right, that's the beginning of change. And it's actually God's design. We're not designed to do life alone. We're designed to do life in community. We're each given different gifts and talents, and those aren't just for us to hold on to. Those are for us to help others with. So we're actually each part of this beautiful tapestry and community that God created us to be in. So it's okay to ask for help. And as a coach, this is exactly how I help my clients. We do intensive breakthrough sessions where I help my clients see where are their blinds? What is it they're not seeing? What is the conditioning or what have they normalized that's affecting them and holding them back from being all that God created them to be? Maybe it's where are they holding themselves back in their finances or their business, their career, their branding, in their relationships, for example. And I take my clients through a process where we get really clear and we're able to locate what are the subconscious files that are running the program right now that are not from God. And then we go ahead and eliminate those at the root cause to bring them back into alignment and to give you a sense of freedom. So coaching isn't about information or knowledge. All the information and knowledge you're looking for is probably free on the internet. But if you're committed to true transformation and you haven't been able to get yourself there, then that's what our work is going to be together. It's not about adding more information and giving you homework. It's about eliminating any of the clutter that's getting in the way so you finally have more mental bandwidth as a leader. And if you're identifying with 2, 3, or even more of these symptoms, then you probably don't need another course or YouTube video on this, although you're welcome to binge all my videos. You probably just need a software update. I have a process where I can help you with this in as little as a day. And if you want to see if you're a fit for that and you're really wanting true transformation, and you don't want to wait months for that transformation to take place, then go ahead and book a call with me. All the information about my coaching is in the description below. And if you're not ready for that, that's totally fine. I'll also leave a link below for my upcoming workshops. If it's not in the description, it'll definitely be in my channel bio. So be on the lookout for that and enjoy my videos. These are also just my highest level of service to help you really gain awareness on what's going on in your mind. I'll catch you in the next video.